Is your name Kushi?
No.
भाई आपका नाम हुसैन है क्या?
What is your name? It seems like the simplest question in the world, but in India, it is sometimes an attempt to know your region, your religion, your social status, sometimes your political identity, your orientation, your political choices. Have you ever noticed that after hearing someone's surname, people often begins making assumptions? Oh, that person must be a Brahmin. She must be a Muslim. Or sometimes they start thinking that this person is a Bihari, a Tamilian. Now, within few seconds, our mind start building image about a person that we might never have met. But why? More than 400 years ago, William Shakespeare asked a beautiful question through Juliet in Romeo and Juliet. What's in a name? A rose by any other name would smell as sweet as it is. Juliet was saying something very revolutionary. Romeo is not good or bad because he is a Montague. Change his surname and he remains the very same human being. In other words, a person's worth does not lie in the label attached to them, any identity, any surname attached to them. If that is true, then why do names matter so much in our society? The answer is in anthropological analysis. Anthropologists tell us that a child is not born with a caste, religion, language, or nationality. That is the work of Margaret Mead also. A child is simply born human. Everything else is learned from family, festivals, from rituals, school, neighbors, myths, stories, religion, and through this long process of enculturation or socialization, identities become part of our personality. That is why Emile Durkheim called them as social facts. They exist outside us, yet they shape our behavior. They constrain us. They influence us. Think about it. The moment someone introduces themselves, we often begin imagining things about them. Not because the name has some magical power, but because societies have attached meaning to these titles, these surnames. A surname becomes a symbol. Religion becomes a symbol. Caste become a symbol. Language become a symbol. And these symbols influence how people treat each other. And sometimes they also shape how we see ourselves. A French sociologist, Pierre, called this symbolic power. Some names they basically open the doors of opportunities. Some names invite suspicions. Say, for example, an idea of or the concept of criminal types in India. Others sometimes become burden. Sometimes names invite untouchable behavior from others. The irony is that name itself has done nothing. It is a society that has given power. Does this mean discrimination based on caste, religion, language, or any other criteria is justified? The answer is absolutely not. It should not be. This is where we must distinguish between explaining discrimination and justifying it. Anthropology explains why discrimination exists across the societies. History explains how the discrimination developed. Sociology explains how institutions reproduces it. Sociology के बाद psychology explains how stereotypes are formed in a society. But none of these disciplines say discrimination is morally right, correct. No, none discipline is trying to say. Understanding a disease is not same as supporting it. Similarly, understanding caste discrimination is not defense of caste discrimination. Our constitution recognizes this distinction very beautifully. It respects every individual's freedom to practice their religion, to preserve their language, and to celebrate their identity and culture. At the same time, It rejects discrimination in the name of caste, in the name of religion, race, sex, or place of birth. In other words, identities deserve respect, discrimination does not. So, what was right? Who was right? Whether Shakespeare or anthropology? The answer is both. Shakespeare reminds us that our humanity is greater than our labels. Anthropology reminds us that societies often forget this truth. Perhaps the real challenge before India is not to erase our identities. We may do the caste census. India has always been a civilization of countless languages, castes, faiths, tribes, and cultures. Our challenge is much, much deeper. Can we celebrate our identities without becoming prisoners of them? Can a surname becomes just a surname? Can religion becomes a source of compassion rather than conflict? Can language become a bridge rather than a barrier? Maybe that is what Shakespeare wanted us to understand centuries ago. A rose would still smell sweet by any other name. The real question is, will we learn to recognize the fragrance before judging the label? We should not judge people on their surnames, rather, we must respect them on the basis of their behaviors, their traits.